The high price points for games and DLC and all that other stuff, as we know, Grand Blue Fantasy has been like, the talks of the town in the FGC about how they price things or whatever. But do you really think those price points really justify like the harsh criticisms that people give it for its price? Like, should we be more understanding and just being like, well, these games do like probably nowadays take more of this to make, and just really just go ahead and support your scene instead of just saying like, look man, like, because really it's really just seem like it's based off what games used to be, and stuff used to be like this, and now we're starting to more so grow into this, and these different methods of doing things, and with those different methods come different prices. So does it really justify like how harshly people like react to these prices just because the prices are so high? Is it something that we should just really get used to and support, because we should really just understand what it takes to make these games and consistently give us content? So go on with you, Devin.
So I think it's kind of a twofold thing. I think you got to look at it from the consumer standpoint and the developer standpoint. From the developer standpoint, it's like these games cost a lot of money to make. It's not like they just wake up with $20 and say, "Hey, let's make a fighting game. Let's make it, put all this content in it, and let's make profit off this." It takes a lot of resource, and they got to get that back somehow. However, I do think there are some things like I can think of cross tech, and like I feel like that was kind of weird, like having stuff already on the disc, like it's already on here. I technically have it, but I just have to pay for it to play it. I think things of that nature kind of weird. Like, you know, um, if you've already given me something like, and it's on here, like, why do I have to pay for it? But I just think it needs to, like, I think I've said before, like last week's episode or the week before last, like, if you give us content, give me something from the jump that I feel like, is just a solid content, solid piece of content, has a good, modes. I mean, for fighting games, like you say, good story mode. I think a lot of story modes are lacking in the most part. You got like NRS is, I feel like that's probably one of their biggest strengths is they always give a really good story mode, it's cinematic, a lot of action stuff going on. So not even for just competitive people. So that means casual people have something to do as well. Um, Give us a decent amount of characters. I think we were talking about this last week with the 15 to 25 character standard. I know with Grand Blue, it's like they had what was about 12 to 15 characters, I think, from the start, and then they already had like the characters lined up that were going to be DLC, like at the beginning. Like I said, it's just a back and forth. Give the consumer something that's solid from the jump that they'll feel like, okay, I felt good spending my hard-earned $60 for. And also the developer, you have to take in consideration they have to make some money. They just can't be giving out games for free. It's a reality. So I do think that sometimes the harsh criticism is a little too much because it's like put yourselves in their shoes. They have to make these games. They have to, even with a character. I will say sometimes when I just bought Belial and you, and it's like $7 per character, like seven or some change. It's like it sounds like a lot, but at the same time, those characters had to be programmed and made. They didn't just come out of thin air. So you have to kind of take a step back and look at it like, it took work to make this. I'll pay for it. I mean, you look at other industries like clothing industry and stuff. People, they're not, they'll pay $150, $200 for some Jordans and be like, oh, that's cool, yeah. Me, I'm not about that, So I kind of think you have to look at it from different perspectives. Even like higher end brand clothing, like some Louis Vuitton or Gucci, just stuff that's just outlandish, and people pay for it with no issue. So it's like if you compare that to something like a game, which like you pay for a character or a season pass, it's like $20, $30, and sometimes it might be more than what you think it should be. But in the long run, you're probably going to play that game for a good while, so you got to take into consideration the time that you're playing it versus what you spent on it. So just like buying a system might cost $600 or $700, but if you put like 5 years into that system, that was kind of money well spent, I'll say. So I think you just have to look at it from both sides. The developers, they make these things, they have to get paid for it. And also, we would hope that the developers will give us something good from the jump so we don't feel like, oh, I spent $60 for something that's like bare bones. And I feel like as long as something doesn't feel bare bones, I feel like it's good. But if you get a game that's like, dang, ain't nothing in it, no characters. Oh, they already announced DLC. Well, dang, I spent $60. It should have been like $40. So you just gotta look at it from two different angles, I feel.
So when we're talking about like uh criticism and stuff like that, I think that when we're talking about do they deserve harsh criticism, especially if you're buying a game and you're buying DLC and you're buying season passes, I say yes. I say yes. And the reason I say yes is because like you're saying, if you buy like a really expensive piece of clothing, and let's say you it looks really great, and then you take it home, and then like there's like a thread, and then you pull the thread out and the whole thing just falls apart, you'd be upset. You'd be really mad. That would be some like stuff that you'd be like, all right, man, they deserve some harsh criticism for this. So, I think like in terms of video games, like it's like when you're holding them to a certain standard. You're holding these developers to a certain standard. If I say I'm giving you $65 for your product, I take your product home and it does not work as intended, or certain parts of it do not work as intended, you're gonna get an earful from me because I've already given you my money. And it's like, especially if you've been waiting for a game for a while and they've been hyping it up and everything, and you're like, oh man, I can't wait to play this next game, and then you bring it home and it's complete garbage, then you're going to be upset, and you deserve to be upset because you had to spend money on it. They had to spend money to develop it, but you went to the store and you bought that with your hard-earned cash. Like they're telling you, please, like they're like that old dude. Remember that old guy that used to have the CD? Buy my product, please. Buy my product. That's what they're saying. No matter what time when they're advertising, that's a more finessed version of them begging you to buy their product. So like you go to the store, you buy their product because they begged you to buy their product. You go there, you give the person, they say like, that'll be $65, please. Okay, here you go. You go home, you're so excited, you can't wait to get home. You rip the plastic off, you put the game in the console, and you update it because everything has to be updated now, right? And they got to install it to the hard drive. So now it's taking up extra space on your hard drive too. Remember that. So now you're playing the game, and now the game, it's terrible. Man, it's awful. So now you just spent all that time, all that excitement. You're just like, oh man, I was so excited, and now you just feel the ground shifting beneath you as you play this horrible game that you just shelled out $65 for. And it's like, do I stick it out? I mean, what am I supposed to do? All my friends going to be playing this? I mean, what should I do here? I mean, yeah, I think they do deserve a harsh criticisms. I think they do deserve harsh criticism, especially I mean, I gotta pay for it. I gotta pay for DLC. I gotta pay for season passes and stuff. They should be held to a higher standard. If you want to get my money, then I gotta hold you accountable for the stuff that you do or don't do in your video games. I think that's a fair trade. You have like, I give you money, you give me the product, and now we have this agreement that this product should be good. So raise the bar a little. Give me something for my money. And so I don't have to yell at you. I don't have to send you angry emails and tell you about how much everybody, like how much I hate everybody in your company, right? Like even the custodian. I'm like, I don't want to have to do that. I'd really like to not have. I'd rather just play your game in enjoyment with my friends. That's all I really want to do. That's all. Isn't that all what we all want to do? Just have a good time playing a fighting game with our friends. I think that's it, man. And I don't. I think expecting the game to work as intended out of the box isn't too much to ask for $65. Well, now it's going to be like $70+ now. So yeah, man. Like I might, instead of writing normal angry letters when I'm mad, I might just like do it in all caps from now on if it's like really bad. So yeah, I think they deserve it.
Yeah, we should hold the devs to a higher standard for sure. So my thing outside of cross-second, of course, cross-second is its own mess, but I don't really have a problem with the current like pricing models of things, but I will definitely have problems with things if they're not delivered the right way, or if it's like a shoddy quality or anything like that. Like for the easy example is like when SF5 dropped, I think everyone had a lot of problems with it from beginning to end. Even though now most people think it's a good game. Well, maybe not most people, but like I don't. I think it's much harder to criticize the current SF5 as it is, even though it took them a while to get there compared to like the release. So like it's 100% fine to come at them for like, man, you're making us pay for all this, and then like you don't deliver your end. But like the current pricing models, as I mentioned before, I think are pretty fair compared to what they used to be. Especially since like if it's good, then we're basically getting a continuous stream of new content. There's still a little bit more that devs can do, obviously, besides like easy ones like the netcode needs to be better and stuff like that. There's like smaller things they could do, for like example, like trial periods for characters. I know some games do this right now. Or another thing that I've been thinking about and I've heard other people suggest is when new characters come out, and like let's say you don't want to buy a season pass because you don't care about the characters, you're just like someone who plays for fun, you don't care about having all the characters, but one of the new characters is so popular, but you don't want to buy them because you don't want to play them, but you need to learn how to fight them. Having those characters available in training mode to practice against would be a pretty nice thing as well. I think there's a game that does that already, but not every game does that. So there's still like small things that devs can do, even in like packages that we consider to be pretty good, like Dragon Ball Fighters. But for the most part, yeah, we definitely need to make sure we hold the devs to a higher standard. And when they're missing things, including important things, so that's why people, even though I think like rollback's kind of like a buzzword to me right now, honestly, because of how much people spam it. But it is actually legitimately important that the game has good netcode, especially in today's age. So we do need to hold them to a higher standard. But also, when people say that, they also start complaining about like pricing models and stuff, even on games that are good packages. So on those things, I'm a little bit less like aggressive. Like the season pass model is actually a pretty good model compared to what we used to have. But again, we do need to hold the devs to a higher standard overall, especially if they give us bad products.